clung to so much. Yeah, he's gonna pick them up. So that manipulation, that making her feel guilty to get what he wants, he does those same things to Jordan. And it's sad, but it's at the same time, it's like, girl, do you not see this? But she sees it, but she's such a try to please people, and she just tries to be this good person, but she just gets railroaded in the end. And so she had jumped in the pool to because it's hot, it's whole summer. So she had jumped in the pool, and of course he was like, you can't do that. Like, this is like a family neighborhood, and like people will be watching, and they'll think like, oh, who's the hot piece of new, tail in town? Like, you can't just be doing stuff like that. And she's like, first of all, I don't have anything to do with anyone else's reaction to me. So if someone sees me, if a guy sees me, or someone's husband sees me and they want to whack off, it is not my business. I'll never know about it. I have nothing to do with it. I literally just jumped in the pool because it was hot. So don't try and come at me and try and make me feel bad. So then he, of course, he does feel bad. He feels bad. And he apologizes to her. But he tells her, you're not doing Des Moines. I will do it, or Cole will do it. But you don't have to do that. You're doing way too much. And he just takes the lawnmower from her. So the next night, Jordan works like a 10-hour shift. She calls Cole. Of course, he doesn't come. It goes straight to voicemail. So Cole apparently sends Jay, her ex-boyfriend, to come and pick her up. So that's kind of crazy that, first of all, they're even hanging out. But she was just like, no, I'm not going with you. And he was like, come on, it's okay, I'll just take you home. She's like, no, I'm good. I'll get another ride. And so she went back into the bar, and she stayed the night in the bar. She slept on the pool table. And Pike had called her because it was like after 3, and he called her, and he's like, hey, are you guys okay? And she's like, yeah, we're fine. We're just out with some friends. And so Pike was like, okay, well, cool. All right, well, have fun. He hangs up. So then the next morning, Cole comes home, and Pike sees him, and Pike's like, oh, did you guys have fun last night? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, weren't you with Jordan last night? And he's like, no, I didn't come in until this morning. And so now Pike's thinking that Jordan is like cheating on Cole. So he's pissed. So he goes to the bar, and he's like, if you're going to be that type of woman where you're cheating on my son, you're not going to live under my roof. And she was just like, whoa, like, how could you even think that? But again, his kind of, he's used to people like Lindsay, the mom, and she's a whole train wreck. So, of course he's going to think, okay, she's lying, not realizing that she was lying because she didn't want Pike to be upset with Cole, because she's trying so hard for him not to appear as a loser, but he is. You know what I mean? But she was trying for him not to appear like that. And so when she storms off because she was crying, the owner, Shell, tells him, yeah, she slept on the pool table last night because your piece of a trash son didn't come and pick her up. And he sent her ex-boyfriend to come pick her up, and he used to smack her around in high school. So she didn't feel too comfortable getting in the car with him. And he felt like such an ass. And he went back to go apologize to her. But she was just too pissed. She was like, she told him, you can kiss my ass. I'm not even talking to you. Like, I don't even want to hear it. So that night, Jordan's thinking, you know what? I need to maybe make some more money. Maybe I need to consider, working at the Hook, as a bartender. because she's like, I need to get out of there fast, you know. So she goes to see her sister. Of course, the owner is trying to get her to work there, and she's like, I don't know. She's still going back and forth about it. So when she leaves the Hook, she goes and she's like, she's just gonna stay at her sister's, because that was just too much what she went through earlier with Pike. So the next day she takes her sister's car to go get her stuff, because she's like, she was just gonna move in with her sister. And when she goes to the house, Cole isn't there, of course, and Pike's there, and he's like, listen, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I was wrong. I should have never just assumed the worst of you. I'm so sorry. And he made a garden for her, because she's into design and landscape and stuff like that. And he's like, I made a garden for you. He was like, please just forgive me. He's like, please don't leave. You know, please don't leave. You know, I would feel horrible if you left because of my mistake. I'm sorry. And so she decides, okay, you know, I'll stay, because she does like it there. It's a nice home. It's cozy. You know, she does like it there. So then a few days later, her and Cole, they have some friends over, because he had told them, he's like, you know, have friends over, you know, whatever you need to do to make this feel like your home, you know, do whatever you need to. So they have some friends over, and Pike and his guy friends which are his work friends as well, his work crew, they're outside in the garage and they're playing cards. And so Jordan comes out there and she's like, hey, there's a pink cake in there. She's like, I didn't want to let Cole eat it because I didn't know who you bought it for. And he was like, oh no, I bought it for you. He was like, I just thought, you know, since on your actual birthday you didn't get a chance to have cake or anything, I figured I'd get that for you guys. He was like, well, actually for both of you, you know, and a welcome to here too. But you know, I'm like, nah, he bought that cake for her. So she's like, oh, you know, thank you. You know, she appreciated it. And so, of course, he finds himself having more and more lustful thoughts about her. And he feels bad because he can't help it. So, Cole and Jordan, they haven't been having sex since they've been in the house. And it's basically because Cole is just constantly screwing up. And she just doesn't want him. Like, one night he tries to like almost make her do something, and she was like, nah, I'm good. Like, it's just, I guess when someone's such a disappointment, you don't want them. And that's pretty much the cycle that they're in. So a few days later, she's cooking dinner, and Pike is outside, you know, doing whatever, you know, yard work he's doing, because we know Cole's not going to do it. And her sister Cam comes over and catches her staring at Pike. And she says, I've never seen you look at Cole like that. And she's like, would you stop trying to start stuff? And so she's like, I'm young enough to be his daughter. And Cam's like, yeah, but you're not his daughter. So Cam decides to test her. She's like, okay, you don't like him at all? Okay. So she goes outside and she's all flirty and she's all half dressed. And Jordan's watching it, of course. And the more she's watching, the more pissed off she's getting, because she doesn't feel like Pike is being as distant as he should. Like, there's already this possessiveness going on. And it's like, oh, shoot, this is for them to get fun. So she can't take anymore watching them laughing. And so she's pissed off. So she goes upstairs. And she actually, before she went upstairs, her sister turns around and mouths to her, jealous much? So she shoots a bird to her sister, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go take a bath. Well, she couldn't take one in the main bathroom because he's renovating that bathroom, and so she had to go in his shower. And as soon as she gets in there, she smells him. And so she smells his body wash. He uses Irish Springs. And she's just like, oh my gosh. So she uses his body wash and his loofah. And she masturbates in the bathroom. And at first, She was thinking about Cole, trying hard to think about Cole, but she couldn't get herself over the edge until she thought about Pike, and then she came. And I'm like, oh, we're going to have a problem. So Dutch is like Pike's best friend, and he works for him as well. And he's down at Grounders, which is where Jordan works, and he calls Pike, and he's like, you might want to get down here and check on your girl. And Pike's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, listen, you might want to get down here and check on your girl. So Pike goes down to Grounders, and he sees Jordan in some tight jeans, and she's dressed in this like lingerie top. And so he goes up there, and he's like, what are you doing? Why are you dressed like that? And she's like, because it's lingerie night. And he's like, I don't think you should be displaying yourself like that. He's like, you're embarrassing my son, and just all this type of crap. And she's like, your son just left here, and he loved what I had. He loved what I had on, and he doesn't care what I wear anywhere. And he was just like, oh. But she was just like, you know, you're making such a big deal of this. She wasn't doing anything crazy. She's like, you know, it's not like it's a whole wet t-shirt contest, you know. He's like, because he's thinking like that's going to be your next step, a wet t-shirt contest. So she knew he had probably found that flyer that her sister had gave her. It was like $300, and she wasn't going to do it, but the flyer, he saw it in the trash. And she's like, you know what I do is my business. It's not yours. So you need to not worry about me. And so he felt bad, and then she kind of felt bad. I don't know why she felt bad, but okay, she felt bad. And so in an effort to make peace, she sent over some shots, and then she sent over Corona, which is what he likes to drink. And then towards the end of the night, it was getting close to midnight, and the crew had to get up. The guys that work for Pike, they all had to get up at like 5 a.m. And so Jordan's like, you know, Pike, if it's not too much, could you take me home? I get off at 2, but I'll try and get off as early as I can. And Pike was going to wait for her, and Dutch is like, no, just give her your truck, and I'll take you home. And then that way you can try and get some sleep. You know, otherwise you're not going to get any sleep if you don't leave here until 2. So at first Pike didn't want to do it because he didn't want to wait there for her. But he was like, okay, because it made sense. Like, what are you fighting at? You know, it makes sense for her to just get the truck. So sure enough, that's what she does. And so when she gets home, she goes in the house. She looks out back in the pool, and Cole is in the pool, and he's screwing this girl named Elena. And so she's like in shock, and she's just looking like she didn't even know what to do. I guess Pike heard the door open, so he comes downstairs, and he's like, Jordan, and she's just standing there staring. And so he's like, Jordan, and then he looks and he sees, and he's like, oh, you idiot. And so he runs out there, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I thought you were asleep. And Pike's like, no, we're both, we're up. And he's like, she's here. And then here comes Jordan, and she walks out, and he's like, I thought she wasn't getting out till like 3. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so she asked him, she's like, has this been going on for like a long time? And he just kind of looked at her like, he couldn't answer. And she was like, have you had her in our bed? And he didn't answer. So it was true. And I was like, what a freaking prick. Like, I don't like him at all. And my opinion of him never changes. I just don't like him because I just think that's awful. Like, even though you may not want her anymore, you can tell someone you don't want her. But to do that to her, and she's working hard, she's saving money, and this is for the end goal for you guys to get your place. But he's been he's squandering the money. He's drinking every night. He's partying every night. Somebody's got to pay for that. And there's no woman paying for that. It's him. So He's missing work because he's calling out because he's drunk. I'm like, he is just an awful person.